The pain you've been carrying, the wounds they left, the fear that still whispers in the dark. None of it has the right to follow you past today. What if today is the day you finally take your power back and declare with unwavering certainty, "Nothing and nobody will ever hurt me again"? Not because life will be perfect, but because you will be unshakable. Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin by declaring something bold, something many of you have never been told in your entire life. From this day forward, nothing and nobody will ever hurt you again. I don't say that as a motivational phrase. I say it as a spiritual law, as a revelation, and as a contract between your future and your authority. Now, I know what you're thinking. You don't know what they did to me. You're right, I don't. But let me tell you what I do know. I know the truth that has the power to override every betrayal, every heartbreak, every lie, every rejection, and every scar that ever tried to define you. You are not what hurt you. You are not what happened to you. You are not the story they wrote for you. You are the author now. See, people can only hurt what they can reach. But when you elevate, when you rise in consciousness, in purpose, in truth, they can't reach you anymore. You've been walking around with invisible chains, chains of guilt, fear, shame, resentment. But today is the day you look those chains in the face and say, "I release you. You're not welcome in my story anymore." Some of you are still hurting because you're giving VIP access to people who should have been deleted from your life long ago. You're inviting old pain to new chapters and wondering why the plot never changes. Hear me clearly. You are the gatekeeper of your peace. And peace is not the absence of conflict, it's the presence of authority. Let me say that again. Peace is the presence of your authority. When you take back authority over your emotions, your focus, your energy, there is no room for drama, no space for pain, no vacancy for manipulators. Nothing and nobody will ever hurt you again. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You became unavailable for suffering, unavailable for abuse, unavailable for lies, unavailable for cycles that lead nowhere. Pain knocked, but you didn't answer. Why? Because your identity has been upgraded. You remembered who you were, royalty, not a victim, not a survivor, a creator, a commander, a king, a queen. You now understand that your worth was never on trial. That what left you didn't define you, it freed you. That what tried to destroy you actually exposed your strength. And here's the greatest truth of all. When you heal, you become bulletproof. Not hard-hearted, not numb, but so full of truth, so filled with light, that darkness simply cannot dwell in your space. The power of identity is the foundation of emotional freedom. Most of the hurt people experience doesn't actually come from the event itself, but from what they believe that event says about them. Identity is the route through which every other experience draws meaning. When someone is hurt, betrayed, rejected, or overlooked, it creates a crack not just in their heart, but in their self-concept. They begin to internalize the pain and form toxic agreements like, "I'm not good enough," "I don't matter," or "I'll never be safe." These lies go unchallenged because people don't realize how much power they've unknowingly given to other people's opinions and actions. The problem isn't what was done, it's what we decided about ourselves in response to it. And that's where identity must be reclaimed. True identity is not something life gives you. It's something you were born with. You were created with worth, value, and purpose before anyone had a chance to label you. But along the way, circumstances start whispering a different narrative. Parents who didn't show up, friends who betrayed you, leaders who failed you, relationships that broke you. Each of these moments tried to rewrite your identity. And if you didn't know who you were to begin with, you likely accepted the edits. The most dangerous kind of pain is the one that sneaks into your sense of self. Because when your identity is fractured, your boundaries are weak, your expectations are low, and your capacity for hurt is high. You don't just attract broken situations. You accept them because you subconsciously believe that's what you deserve. But when a person wakes up to their true identity, everything changes. The same attacks may come, but they no longer land. The same words may be said, but they no longer wound. Why? Because when your identity is rooted in truth, external factors lose their ability to define you. You no longer need validation from others to feel valuable. You no longer fear rejection because you know your worth isn't dependent on inclusion. You stop being reactive and start becoming selective, choosing your environments, relationships, and conversations based on alignment, not desperation. This identity shift also alters how you interpret pain. You stop seeing it as proof of weakness and start seeing it as confirmation of your power. You recognize that the enemy doesn't attack what isn't a threat. If you've been through a lot, it means you carry something weighty, something worth silencing. But when you know who you are, the very attacks meant to destroy you become the evidence of your destiny. The power of identity is that it turns your internal world into a fortress. It doesn't stop life from happening, but it prevents life from owning you. Hurt can't stick where truth is anchored. When you truly know who you are, nothing and nobody can touch you the same way again. Not because they changed, but because your identity became unshakable. Healing is often misunderstood as something that happens to us over time, like a wound that naturally closes. But emotional healing, the kind that frees you from the grip of past hurt, is not just a passive process. It's an intentional decision. You don't stumble into healing by accident. You step into it by choice. Many people wait for the pain to go away on its own, hoping time will do the work. But time doesn't heal trauma. Time can bury it, dull it, or distract you from it, but healing begins the moment you decide you're no longer available for suffering. That decision is the shift point where everything changes, because it's the moment you stop outsourcing your peace to other people or past events. People carry pain like it's part of their personality. They rehearse the betrayal. They retell the story. They relive the moment. And in doing so, they keep the wound alive. It's not the memory that keeps hurting, it's the meaning attached to it. That's why healing isn't about forgetting. It's about reframing. You take the same moment that once broke you and decide it no longer gets to define you. You stop asking why it happened to you and start asking what it taught you. That's a decision. It doesn't mean the pain wasn't real or that the person didn't hurt you. It means your future is no longer on trial for your past. You must also understand that the decision to heal will feel unnatural at first, especially if you've built your identity around pain. Some people don't know who they are without their wounds. They've become so accustomed to being the victim, the survivor, or the broken one that freedom actually feels foreign. That's why healing requires courage. You have to be willing to let go of not just the pain, but the version of yourself that was shaped by it. That means forgiving even when the apology never came. It means releasing even when there's no closure. It means creating peace in your life because you deserve it, not because they earned it. The moment you make that decision, the power dynamic shifts. The person, the event, or the situation that once held control over your mind and emotions suddenly loses its grip. You're no longer a passive participant in your own life. You become the authority. Pain no longer leads the conversation. You do. And once you reclaim that power, it's astonishing how quickly peace shows up. Healing doesn't always take years. It takes clarity. The decision to say, "This is not my story anymore. This is not my identity anymore. This is not my standard anymore." That choice becomes a line in the sand where suffering ends and strength begins. It doesn't mean you won't remember, but it does mean the memory won't rule you. The wound becomes a scar, and scars don't hurt, they testify. Healing isn't about time passing. It's about power returning. And that power returns the moment you decide you've had enough of being hurt. Unshakable authority comes from ownership. Ownership means taking full responsibility for your life, your emotions, your boundaries, your choices, your reactions. It doesn't mean you caused everything that happened to you, but it does mean you take control of what you allow to continue. When you own your life, you stop living in a reactive state where everyone else dictates how you feel and what you believe. You stop waiting for people to treat you better or for circumstances to align. Instead, you become the one who sets the tone. You become the thermostat, not the thermometer. Hurt people often wait for something outside of them to change so they can finally feel safe, valued, or at peace. But that kind of power can't be borrowed. It has to be claimed from the inside out. Ownership is what transforms victims into victors. It's the moment you stop saying, "They made me feel this way," and start saying, "I allowed myself to feel this way, and I can choose differently now." That's not denial. That's power. As long as you assign your emotional state to someone else's behavior, you're giving them permission to hurt you again and again. But when you say, "I get to decide how I show up," you reclaim the pen and start writing a new story. And the beauty of ownership is that it's not about controlling others. It's about mastering yourself. You may not be able to stop someone from being cruel, but you can absolutely stop them from having access to your peace, your time, and your heart. Boundaries are born from ownership. The moment you own your energy, you begin to recognize what and who deserves access to it. You don't tolerate emotional manipulation. You don't keep explaining your worth. You don't participate in toxic cycles because you've upgraded your internal standard. You're not cold. You're clear. And clarity is a form of compassion to yourself. When you own your space, you stop living in fear of confrontation or rejection because your sense of self is not up for negotiation. You no longer seek permission to be free. You walk in that freedom because you decided you're worthy of it. This kind of authority creates a force field around your life. It doesn't make you untouchable, but it makes you unshakable. People might still lie. Life might still get hard. But it no longer destroys you because you're not handing over the keys to your inner world. You're driving now. You choose who rides with you. You choose the direction. You choose the speed. That's what it means to live with unshakable authority. It's not loud or aggressive. It's grounded. It's calm. It's the steady power of someone who knows who they are and what they deserve. When you live like that, hurt may try to knock, but it can't come in. Not because life stopped being hard, but because you stopped giving it permission to break you. Ownership is the gate. Authority is the guard. Peace is the result. So now you stand at a crossroads, not of time, but of decision. You've seen the truth, that your identity is not what was done to you, that healing isn't a timeline but a choice, and that authority over your life belongs to no one but you. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are not waiting for rescue. You are the rescue. When you fully step into who you are, when you choose to no longer carry what was never yours to bear, when you decide your peace is non-negotiable, everything changes. No longer will your past echo louder than your future. No longer will someone else's actions write your story. From this moment forward, say it with your chest and your spirit. Nothing and nobody will ever hurt me again, because I remember who I am, I choose to heal, and I walk in full authority. The world didn't give you this power, so the world can't take it away. It's yours now. Walk in it.